Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Afisha Beckles. I am the Education USA Advisor in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for joining us here today. This panel discussion will focus on the international student experience. I have here with me my fellow moderator, Ms. Noreen Nalia, who is the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at the US Embassy in Port of Spain. Prior to coming to Trinidad and Tobago, she was a consular officer in Guadalajara, Mexico, and Hyderabad, India. Noreen has a background in legal services in California and has a master's and a law degree from Georgetown University. She earned her bachelor's degree from UC Berkeley and also studied at Fresno City College and California State University, Fresno. So thanks for being here with me today, Noreen.
Thank you, Fisha.
I also have two of our international students who will be sharing some insight on their experiences in the US. So I will start by introducing Diego Hernandez, who is an international student from Costa Rica and currently studying in Appleton, Wisconsin. Prior to coming to the US, Diego obtained his technical degree in networking and studied English and Portuguese in school. Based on his experiences, he learned the value of hard work, efficiency, and communication. At Fox Valley Technical College, Diego has the role of a full-time student and leads the International Student Club as president. Diego enjoys sharing about Costa Rica and learning with other people and their cultures. Diego is currently finishing his associate's degree in information system security and hopes to continue studying for a bachelor's degree and a possible master's degree in computer science and cyber law. One of Diego's goals is to be able to motivate all students who want to achieve their dreams and encourage them to fight for them. Thank you so much for being here today, Diego.
Thank you.
Great. And we also have Christian Harper, who is from Trinidad and Tobago. He is a sophomore at St. Francis College in Brooklyn Heights, New York. He is a biology and math major. Christian's dream is to become an anesthesiologist, and he's working towards that. Within his school, he is part of the Caribbean Students Association and Alpha Lambda Delta National Honor Society. He is also one of the international student ambassadors and works in the international office as student worker on campus, and his current binge show right now is The Office. Thank you so much for being here today, Christian.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we have one other student who is supposed to be joining us, but she hasn't joined the chat just yet. So I'm hoping that Laura Lemus will be able to join us. So we will continue the discussion and we would introduce Laura as she enters the chat. So again, thanks everyone for being here and participating in this exciting fair. So I'll now have Noreen take over with some of our questions for our panelists.
Thank you, Afisha. And Afisha is our fantastic education and library specialist at the US Embassy in Port of Spain. And she does the Education USA advising. However, this session is about the international student experience. So please try and keep your questions on that topic. This is your chance to ask people who are actually in the US studying from countries that could be your country, could be your neighbors, and they can really answer those questions about how that adjustment has been, how their experience was, and how studying their subjects went. So you know, let's try and keep on topic and let's get those questions asked because we just have a few minutes for this entire session, just about 35 more minutes. So I do want to start with a really important question about Education USA. So I'm going to start with you, Diego, but did you have any interaction with Education USA when you were looking for where to study and how to study in the US, or what to study, sorry. Did you have any interaction with Education USA, and how did they support your journey?
Yeah, so when I was looking for universities in the United States, of course, the first thing I did was to Google for opportunities. So the first thing that prompted to my browser was Education USA, and I went from there. I had the chance to read about the programs and read about their services that they offer to different students. I was actually a translator in this exact fair in 2017, and I was able to learn more about Education USA, and they support me in my role of choosing a university. They have a lot of resources, and they really care about the students in terms of before, during, and after you travel to your potential university. They also place me in contact with different universities here in the US, and they share my information, telling them that I was interested on joining them and further coming to the US. So yeah, I mean, they helped me a lot in the fact of me studying here in the US, and all the resources that they have were amazing. If it wasn't for them, I won't be here today.
That's fantastic to hear, and I'm glad to hear that. And we have some questions from the audience. I'm going to go to one that I'm going to ask you, Christiane. And that one is, oops, there. Did you feel, it's from Victor Leras, did you feel discriminated against in the United States?
No, no, I haven't felt discriminated against because of my skin color. There are subtle, to be honest, there are very subtle, subtle little things that you pick up on, but nothing very extreme. It's sad that I still have to pick up on those subtle things, but nothing that would make me feel that my decision to come study in the US was a bad decision, or nothing that gives me a hard time. Nothing like that at all.
I am sorry to hear about that, but I definitely understand that feeling. And I know the US, we're definitely on a journey, and definitely not at the end of that journey in terms of racial justice. And I know that's a common question I've received when we've been doing education related topics, Afisha as well. And I think it's good to hear that you still feel like this was a good decision for you to go to the US. So is there, let me look at our questions. We do have our own questions, but so many questions are coming in really fast that I'm going to try and prioritize audience questions. So I'm going to turn, Afisha, do you have a question you want to ask?
Well, as Christian mentioned that, you know, the little experiences that he has had did not really negatively impact his view on being there in the US. I did want him to share a bit more about how he chose the school that he decided to go to.
That's a really good question. Thank you. Well, there's a little bit of a process where, well, everyone in Trinidad who wants to apply to the US knows about Education USA's college fair that happens in October. And everyone does attend. It's very, very populated. So obviously I was one of the students that attended, and I attended twice. And on the second time, that's when I saw the St. Francis College booth. And I mean, they were saying a lot of things, a lot of things that I liked. And I did a little bit more research, and that's kind of how I chose St. Francis College, because of their small learning community and the way that I'm accustomed to classes in Trinidad in secondary school and such. I think that it was the best kind of transition from that to college. That's why I chose St. Francis.
Great, thank you for that. And I'm going to ask, we've actually received several questions about finances. So I'm going to kind of put that under one major question. So did either of you receive any scholarships or get any financial assistance? And if so, you know, we'll start with you, Christiane, and actually let's start with you, Diego, and then we'll move to you, Christiane, and see if, you know, how just getting through the financial process worked for you. And I know you're in a technical college, and I think that might be a really good question to add. I mean, really good way to segue into that discussion and why that may have made financial sense for you as well.
Sure, sure. So the fact that I'm in a technical college, that means the tuition is not as expensive as any other universities, the 4 years or other private institutions. Nevertheless, tuition is always a topic that is in the top of the head of the students. In terms of economic helps and scholarships, they are scholarship and there are scholarships every semester that every student is available or they're available for the students out there. Um, Besides that, there are some departments here at Fox Valley Technical College that they can assist you if you have some, if you're struggling with money or you have right now with the pandemic, they make sure that you have the equipment, that you have a computer, that you have internet connection. So they help us figure it out how that we can do in terms of money, in terms of maybe potential loans. But yeah, the resources are there and it's just a matter of a student who can go, ask, and figure out how to do with these economic issues.
Thank you. And Christiane, is there anything you want to add to that about the financial aid process and
Uh,
whether scholarships?
Yeah, St. Francis does offer scholarships. It's a lot. They offer the international scholarships. So if you apply as an international student, you're automatically, and you're accepted, you're automatically given the international scholarship. There's a merit scholarship based on GPA. So if you have below a 3.5, you get one. If you have above a 3.5, you get a higher one. There's the faith-based scholarship, which is St. Francis is a private Catholic college. So if you are Catholic, you also get faith-based scholarship. And for every incoming freshman class, every incoming freshman group, every student has a chance to participate in an essay writing competition to get one of the 4 full tuition scholarships called presidential scholarships. So there's a lot of opportunity to get scholarships entering school, and as Diego said, a lot of colleges, including St. Francis, offer a lot of help with say laptops or tablets, given the COVID pandemic.
Thank you. Afisha, do you want to ask something?
Yes, I do. I actually did want to follow up on that question because I saw that Camilla asked in the Q&A how much importance is given to extracurricular activities that you did in high school in terms of getting an international scholarship. So would any of you want to share some insight on that?
Yes. So my school is also a D1 athletic school. So if you do athletics, I would definitely advise you to when you're applying to include that and to ask, like, can I speak to the coaches? Can I speak to anyone in charge of athletics? Because that's also another opportunity to get more scholarships to reduce the the tuition figure, which is, I think, what's on everyone's mind.
I would like to also add over here that the extracurricular activities is something that the universities, community colleges, and people outside are really interested to know about. Your GPA tells you how you do as a student, but also your extracurricular activities tells you or tells the other people how you want to do or what you want to do to improve yourself, how you want to do in terms of getting to know the place you are at the moment and also to get to know your community better. This was really influential when I came to Fox Valley Technical College, since they really encourage us to do volunteering. And at the end of every semester, we get a certificate from the major saying stating the amount of hours that we have. So that is for future reference. If you are looking to apply for any type of scholarship or you're looking for any type of help, this volunteering is phenomenal for a resume builder.
And Diego, correct me if I'm wrong, but that also helps just with general admissions, not just scholarships, correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Great. So we've gotten several questions about football scholarships. And I'm going to say, if you're applying to university in the US, you may need to specify American football or soccer. But we did get questions about that. So do either of you know anything about your institutions and whether or not they offer football / soccer scholarships?
Yes, we do have a football team. They do offer scholarships. It's a D1 team, so it trains like really hard. They train really hard, and they take part in competitions. So I would definitely say to apply, yeah, and make sure I mention that you play football, soccer.
Thank you. Hafisha?
Maybe my own perspective in terms of sports, since I am in a community college and mostly towards the technical college, my institution does not focus more into sports. They will focus more onto or towards employment careers, uh, technical activities, and maybe looking for opportunities for job. This is a community college where people work and study at the same time, so they don't focus more on sports. They will focus more on employment and school activities.
Thank you, Diego. And that's a good point. So, Fisha, being from the Education USA standpoint, and having done a lot of research on scholarships with students, it's not the same in every college, correct?
That is correct. So one of the key things that students who definitely need to look for financial assistance should be researching when they're researching their schools, apart from, the programs that the school offers and about the location of the school, etc. You definitely want to look into what financial aid opportunities are available there, and if you would be eligible to receive one of those, or what you need to do to be eligible to receive some form of financial aid from the school. And as we could tell from just having two students from different schools, the scholarship opportunities really vary, and the qualifications for these scholarships could really vary. So it's something that you definitely need to keep in mind when you're doing your research.
Thank you. Fisha, do you have any questions for the panel?
Well, I keeping my eye on the Q&A, I noticed that some folks are interested in finding out more about the change in living at home to the US. So I did see a question come in from, I think I missed the person, but the question is more or less about what was the transition like from your home country to living in the US. And maybe Diego, you could start with that question.
Sure. So, well, as you said before, I am right now in Appleton, Wisconsin, and this is really into the north part of the United States. I am from Costa Rica, so it's a tropical climate. It's hot every day, and we just have rainy and sunny seasons. Um, I came here in the middle of winter, and it was extremely cold. I never experienced this before. And then the next day, I had classes right away. So before I flew here, my entire life was Spanish. And some days I used to study English. Then I came here and it was English.
Sorry, Diego, you're
Sorry,
muted.
yep, my bad. So then it was English all day long. And also in terms of classes, this is a different way of learning than what I was used to. And this is something that we should not be afraid of. This is just a different way to learn, and you will get used to it. And in terms of culture, there's a difference into culture, my culture and the American culture. But I think I got used to it, and that helps me also grow as a person and expand my knowledge in different cultures.
Great, and thank you so much, Diego. And Christian, you would not have had the hurdle or the challenge of moving from speaking English to another language, because coming from Trinidad and Tobago, you speak English already. But apart from that, how would you say was the transition coming from the Caribbean and now living in New York?
There was definitely a culture shock for sure. There wasn't as much of a language barrier. There is a part of Brooklyn that's very, very Caribbean based. So it sometimes can feel like home. Not exactly, but very, very close, very, very similar. And there's also a part of Brooklyn that doesn't feel like the Caribbean at all. So it's definitely definitely was interesting getting accustomed to the way how their kind of culture and the differences that would arise from time to time. So it's still getting accustomed to it, but it's definitely been getting a bit easier.
Great. So that means there's a little bit of culture shock, but eventually you do get used to it and settle down and get comfortable.
It looks like we have our third panelist. Afisha, do you want to introduce her as well?
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, glad that you're able to join us. So I'll just introduce you quickly so that everyone knows who you are. So Laura Lemus is a Salvadorian student, a PhD Salvadorian student in Hispanic language and literatures at Washington University in St. Louis. She has a master's degree in advanced studies in Hispanic literature from the University of Barcelona and a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of El Salvador. For more than 10 years, she was an editor for the publishing department of the University of El Salvador. She has also coordinated the institutional journal La Universidad. So thank you so much for being here today, Laura. We're glad that you could join us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Noreen, did you have a question for Laura?
I actually have a question for all three of my panelists, but I will start with Laura. And it's a question I'm seeing several times being asked here, and that is about the adjustment with COVID-19. So I'll start with you, Laura, and go through the panel. And if you can talk a bit about how your institution has adapted to COVID-19, that would be great.
Yes, we had to make a lot of adjustments. First, considering that we are PhD students, so we are attending classes, but also we are not teaching assistants. We are instructor in Spanish languages. So I remember the last semester I was everything here began after the spring break. Our spring break, I was with my sister because my sister is studying in Vanderbilt too. She's studying a PhD too. So I was spending my time with my sister, and then the university told us that we have to stay in the place that where we are. So I passed a couple of weeks with my sister, and then I tried to take the adventure to come back to St. Louis. Here I have the opportunity to follow my classes by an online modality, but then when the semester ends, we had to we have to stay in the United States. We have to maintain here, and for example, I have the plans to go to my country home to make research in the archives in El Salvador and Nicaragua, and I was planning to apply to a grant in the university. So I had to make another solution for my summer, so I stay here in a seminar, in a summer seminar for dissertation, and I worked a lot in my summer. That was a consequence of the COVID emergency. And then, now this semester I began to teach Spanish language at the university, so I had a lot of training in the summer, how to make good classes online, how to present your persona, your teaching persona to your student, etc. So it was hard. It was very busy. It was a busy summer, but I think that we have learned a lot.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. I'm guessing that's unfortunately been an adjustment most universities and most schools in the world have had to make this year. Christian, can you talk a bit about how your institution adapted to COVID-19?
Yes. Well, St. Francis College is in New York. It's no secret that that New York was hit pretty hard with the COVID pandemic. So it was very sudden when school closed last semester, and from there it was kind of shaky on like teachers. Some teachers didn't really know how to use the online kind of system. Some students didn't know how to use the online systems. A bit of confusion. But they took this vacation to really educate the teachers and students on exactly what was needed and what was required. And we've all kind of come back into this semester kind of having an idea of, okay, well, this is how assignments are going to be posted, it's how assignments are going to be submitted, so exams are going to be taken. What do I need? How does my laptop need to be? What software my laptop needs as well? And we're kind of going back into that. However, there's some, like, I don't know what to call it, like there's some downsides to being a bio major in these times, because we have to go into school in person to take part in labs. They've made it kind of like how to put it, they've kind of reduced the amount of time we spend in labs, so it's definitely not a plus. So we have to go in some days, and some days we have to be online. And the school itself has made a lot of interior changes to really ready for our safety. And the labs are now a lot stricter, can't be moved that. So it's definitely still, the in-person part is definitely going to be something to get accustomed to. But when it comes to the online part, I think the school has done a really good job over this summer to really educate its entire population on how the school is really going to go forward. Yeah.
Excellent. No, I mean, I'm glad to hear that they're trying their best to adjust. What about you, Diego? How was your experience with COVID and the schools adjusting to it?
Sure. So my experience with COVID started after spring break. This is at the end of March. And the first thing that they did was move all the class from in-person class to online class. Being an IT student, I wasn't as affected as other of my friends, potentially, that they had to be in class and they had to get adjusted into this new reality. But in my perspective, it hasn't been that bad. I stay really positive. I say that as students, we still have the resources, and we just have to learn in a different way than what we were used to. But for me, it's perfectly fine. In terms of college, unfortunately, it's limited the amount of individuals that can go and sit down in the library. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed the most, having a learning environment. And also go there and share with people with my same goals. Now it's more to stay at home and do as much as you can. In terms of my instructors, they're still there, and they're still really paying attention on my performance. They are constantly asking me how are you doing? How do you feel? How do you feel about the lectures? And they just ask different type of questions that just make me feel care that someone is there to get my back. And I feel really comfortable with that as well. There's nothing that we can do about it. This is something that we have all to work together in order to embrace what is going on, and then, as I said before, just move on. But yeah, I think that Fox Valley Tech is doing a fantastic job. All the resources are there. People are always willing to help us. And all these different types of help that makes me feel that COVID came to us just to show us a different reality and that we can achieve things in different way that we were used to.
Thank you. And what about you, Afisha? There's a lot of questions coming in that Q&A. So do you see anything you think people can answer?
Yes, I did want to have the students tackle the question of the admission process. I see people are asking about it. Was it a difficult process, and was it a very long process? So we have Diego, who's at community college, and Christian, who is at a four-year college, and Lara, who is studying at the PhD level. So maybe you could all share a bit, and I'll start with you, Diego, on the admission process to get in the school in terms of it. Was it difficult? Was it challenging? And, you know, were you able to maybe get assistance from the school while you went through that process?
Absolutely. So yeah, one of the things that I definitely received was assistance, coming from Fox Valley Tech, but also from Education USA. Part of the admissions was, as we talked before, volunteering was really influential. In terms of grades was really influential as well. And also one of the biggest things is we need to have a certain English proficiency level. I personally did the SAT before coming here, and I brought the physical paper to demonstrate my English capabilities, and also in all these different sub areas that the SAT evaluates. In terms of paperwork, I would highly suggest be patient. We have to perform like the immigration paper, we have to the admissions papers, we have to do all these different types, and that sometimes can be overwhelming. And it took me at least 3 to 4 months to set up all these papers, but I think that the end is worth it. The process wasn't complicated at all, as long as you know what are your goals and you are willing to fight for them.
Great, thanks for that, Diego. And what about you, Christian?
Yeah, I think the admissions process for most universities, they've made it quite simple these days. Most of it can be done online. So, for example, St. Francis, because I go there, the application process is then you're put onto an admissions counselor. So when I first applied and I was put onto my admissions counselor, there was a lot of communication back and forth, because I had a lot of questions. It was my first time applying. St. Francis is not SAT, we don't require SATs. Specific test scores are required for the nursing major, but all of the majors aren't. It isn't required. So I was really happy about that. So I went forward. It was super simple, and they even had like a little video call session before I applied. Before I traveled to the school, and it really made it feel like such a smooth transition to college.
Great, thanks, Christian. And I'm glad that you mentioned that the SAT wasn't required. So I see that questions are coming up about the SAT and the ACT. So there are some schools that do not require either test, but in your research on the school, that's one of the things that you should be looking at in terms of the admission requirements, whether or not you need to do the SAT or the ACT. Right now, with the COVID-19 pandemic happening, students are being faced with a lot of test center closures. And please bear in mind that many of the universities in the US are aware of the difficulties students are experiencing, and a lot of them are being flexible in terms of not needing the SAT or the ACT, and definitely not having that work against the student if they're not able to do the SAT. So I'd like to move on now to Lara. If you could share a bit about your experience as a PhD student in terms of the admissions process.
Yes, I think that in...
Sorry to interrupt, but we only have a few minutes left, Laura. So if you can keep your answer to about a minute or two, that would be great.
Okay.
No, I'm saying if you can keep your answer short, that would be great. Yeah.
Oh, of course, of course. No, okay. No, in my case, I think that the person of the admissions in the university focus on your experience and your interest in research. In my case, I was trying to apply to 3 universities. And all these universities want your statement, your recommendation letters, your scores in the GRE. And in my case, they only were requesting the TOEFL scores. And then all of this it was easy for me because I had the support of Education USA all the time because I was part of the opportunity program, and this program gives you support gives you a course in English about and help you to pass the exams, the test, and give you advices, give you in my case I could apply for financial help in order to pay the test, etc. So it was very helpful, and I think that was a very supportive process.
Thank you, Laura. And I am going to close this off because we only have about 3 minutes. So I'm going to try and do each of you a really rapid fire question. But if you can, in one sentence, tell me what has been your favorite aspect of studying in the United States. Just a sentence answer. And Laura, I'll start with you.
Intercultural exchange.
Really? Okay, that's a great answer. What about you, Christian?
Definitely the basketball culture has been exciting to be a part of.
Do you go watch matches too? Games too, I guess?
I go watch.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, what about you, Diego? What has been your favorite aspect of studying in the United States?
I would say that potentially getting out of my comfort zone, they allow me to grow personally and also as a student.
Wow, you guys were so fast. We actually now have 2 minutes left from 3. So I don't want to skip because we have about 130 questions we have not been able to get to because we have 500 people here. But I would just say then we're going to do another rapid fire question. What advice, just the one top thing you would say advice you would give to somebody who's interested in studying in the US? Number one advice. Yeah. Diego, why don't we start with you?
I would say being open-minded and one step at a time.
Great. What about you, Laura?
I think that you should research what kind of university it fit into your expectations.
That's a great point. Research what kind of university. We talked about the finances earlier. We talked about all the SAT, Afisha mentioned. So research is key, right? What about you, Christian?
I'd say when you're in contact with your school, when you send emails back and forth, I would say don't be afraid to ask any question because you're trusting them with your education. So any question should have an answer. They should have an answer for it.
Oh, those are all great answers. I'm really sorry to those of you whose questions could not get answered, but it was impossible in 40 minutes to get through all of these questions. I do see a lot of really good questions about the admission process and things like that. Hopefully, I think there may be other sessions that may get to some of those questions because they aren't quite for the students because it can vary as well. So keep a lookout for the other sessions. And Afisha, do you have anything you want to say to close us off in that last minute?
Yes, I do. Thank you for everyone who was able to join today. Thank you so much to our panelists for your insights. We really appreciate it. So for those who have not gotten their questions answered and you're looking for assistance from Education USA, please visit the Education USA website, which is educationusa.state.gov. And you can find a testing center, sorry, not a testing center, but an advising center near you, and connect with an Education USA advisor. So thanks again for being here today.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Afisha, as well. And for the Education USA amazing staff who put this event together. So have a good afternoon, and we look forward to seeing the other sessions with you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.